I'm being paid to stand in a warehouse and watch people. I use this time to write down my thoughts on paper, but now I've run out of things to write about. So there I am, staring at people, staring at nothing a lot of the time, and I feel like I'm losing my grip on reality because I'm not doing anything. I really needed to find something to do in that time. I work in a storage warehouse of a large multinational online store. You've all heard of it. In this job, I work 2 days on a team that tells the employees to wear their face masks correctly and to stay 6 feet apart from each other. Then the other 2 days, I work on a team that takes items from point A and puts them in bins, which is point B, to be retrieved and shipped later. I'm working on the social distancing team today, and I spend all my time walking around watching people while carrying a clipboard. I joined this team specifically so I could write down my thoughts while I worked. This job only demands enough attention to look around myself once every 30 seconds or when someone walks near me. So there is a lot of time to write down my thoughts, to-do lists, organize my finances, and other things as long as I don't use my phone. I also have printed off pages of Spanish words and their translations, and also I have pages of documentation for software tools I use. But today I have a problem. I can't think of anything else productive to write down. My to-do list is done, and I think I've done all possible planning for the next few months. I want to be productive, so I ask myself, what can I do now, standing in a gigantic warehouse, to make money? I could write down my thoughts to make a vlog on YouTube. I doubt I'd make much money, but it would be fun, and I get to talk about everyone's favorite subject, themselves. So that's what I did, and this is that video. This is an introductory video about me, summarizing the past 5 or 6 years because they are the most significant to understanding my current situation. I graduated college with a bachelor's in business management, but not before my majors were undeclared, pre-med, finance, and international business. I got my first real job a couple months after graduating in the state of Missouri. I'm from Ohio, FYI. My role was initially supposed to be an accountant to replace the previous accountant who would retire in 3 years, but I went from would-be accountant to office manager, then finally being a supervisor of 20 to 30 people in a small manufacturer, all while doing all the office work. I think I worked there 17 months. Due to stress caused by various factors, I left that job without having another job lined up. I moved back home to Ohio when I learned I could live with my grandmother rent-free. A few months later, I got another job at a financial consulting company doing accounts payable and receivable work. I worked at 3 different companies while working there, one okay, one bad due to an accounts receivable supervisor who was super dramatic about everything, and then one great last assignment. After maybe 7 months, I decided I would do a career change. I decided on software development. I found a master's program in Denver that allowed me in with only a bachelor's degree in anything. That was red flag number 1. This initially went well until I found out they didn't teach you code in a cohesive way. In other words, the prerequisite classes for more advanced software classes didn't teach you the software skills necessary to do the work in the advanced classes. When emailing the dean of the school about this, I was informed that some outside study may be necessary to understand the material in the advanced classes. So I dropped that master's program like it was hot. If I was going to self-study, I might as well do it for free instead of paying for a degree. After I dropped the master's program, I then worked at a web hosting company, which is the only job I was fired from. Being in fear of being fired for a couple weeks, then actually being fired is a bit of an emotional roller coaster. But I'm glad it happened because I found a better opportunity. That better opportunity was a 6-month-long coding bootcamp. All this was happening while I was still in Denver. I really enjoyed the coding bootcamp. It was actually exactly what I was expecting, unlike the master's program. During this time, I had a girlfriend. Before the end of the relationship, I attempted to break up with her 2 to 3 times. I think it was 3 times. After graduating the coding bootcamp, I broke up with a girlfriend for good. And that was an emotional roller coaster. Due to not having a job and no more loan money to pay rent, I moved back home to Ohio to look for a software job. This time, I lived with my parents. I hadn't lived in the same house with my mom for years, but let me tell you what. She is dysfunctional, and an argument can be made that she is emotionally abusive. So adding up the recent breakup of a relationship that lasted over a year and a half, and living with my insane mother, I developed depression and a massive drop in motivation to try hard in life. Also at this time, I started delivering pizzas for work. I applied to a ton of software jobs and went on a few interviews. But after a particularly bad outburst from my mom, I decided to give my 2 weeks notice to my pizza delivery job and live in my car near Seattle, Washington. My plan was to work at a gas station while applying to software jobs and living in a national park in my car for free. So I went to Chicago after compromising with my parents. Car life was really amazing for me. I really can't stress enough that it really was exactly what I needed at that time. But I came back to Ohio after a month living in my car because my dad was repairing a house my brother bought to resell. My brother wasn't present for most of the work of repairing the house, but my dad probably did over 100 hours of free work on the house. 100, it might have been 200, it was a lot. I came home to help him so he could finish and wouldn't die from stress. Since I was back home without a job, I started delivering pizzas again. And then I met a great girl online who lived in Peru and eventually started a long distance relationship with her. More pizzas were delivered, and then I went to visit her in Peru. The country sucked, but she was great. And then it finally happened, my first real software job. Though I only worked 20 hours a week, making $10 an hour, while this guy and I got comfortable with each other. I only worked for him for maybe a month because he ran out of money to pay me, so it was a short lived dream. Without a job again, I started my current role at a large online retailer. I've been working here for a few months and I'm leaving for Peru in a couple of weeks. Now, all that was the past. Here is my future plans. I want to be a remote freelance software developer in Peru with my soon to be wife. I saved 6 months worth of expenses so we can live. Hopefully, this all won't blow up in my face and I won't be trapped in a third world country with my Peruvian wife. Another fun fact, I don't speak Spanish and she doesn't speak English. So yeah, that's me. Join me in the future as I talk about more of my stories and unusual ideas.